Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to bring you the next interview in my Be Good to You video series with my new friend, Melanie Ciccarello. I absolutely adore this woman, and I cannot wait for you to hear what she has to say about her life's journey. So, Melanie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to meet with me today.
Welcome.
All right, well let's get this party started. So you have a powerful story, and so I want you to share with me your health journey and how you weren't being good to you.
Okay. All right. So basically, as I look at my whole story, I've had ups and downs with my weight all my life. I was a chubby kid. First diet I was on was at 7 with a doctor, and that was actually because my mom bought a dress too soon, and I had to diet to get into this dress. So not always the best reasons, but always issues around food. And my mom was worried that I'd be like her. And so she was very concerned and doing kind of crazy things. As an infant, she put me on skim milk and she got in trouble for it by her doctor. So she had fears about food. She had issues with food, and I certainly had my own as well. So I dieted off and on most of my life. I was actually an anorexic for a year, clinically an anorexic, and felt empowered by weight loss, and but very unhealthy, obviously. That was starvation, and then gained weight quickly after that because my body was starving. Through different turmoils of life. By the time I was 16, I was over 200 pounds. I went to college early and was really an overachiever, perhaps you'd say. But in this area of my relationship with food, I had a really bad relationship. I misused food for emotional comfort. I didn't always regard nutrition. And I would over-exercise. So I stayed in this really, really bad relationship with food for through my 20s. And I was in grad school eventually, and was getting healthier emotionally and spiritually. My relationship with God is a central focus in my life, and it's the anchor of my life. And I was developing in that area, but you know what? In this area with food, it was still a problem. It was an area where food was misused by me as a pressure release. As my favorite activity was to eat, so I really had a bad relationship with food. And that comes with a lot of bad emotion, really feeling depressed and really upset with myself. And to such a level of really not loving myself. And I know this is kind of the heart of what you're passionate about, Kristen, and me as well, because I've learned that not loving myself, punishing myself by feeling, like I'm a failure, that just doesn't work. If people think it's just more will, necessarily that at all. Certainly is not my story. It's really about learning how to love myself and to take care of myself. And it's been a long journey, which I'm still on. I'm 55 now. I've had 4 children, and I have a wonderful husband. But what I've learned is that I need to have that balance in my own life and in my own relationship with myself, and certainly with food, which has been a problematic one all my life. So basically, in my health journey, to fast forward, I lost a lot of weight before my first child was born. And I gained 70 pounds while I was pregnant with him. And you know what? It was up from there, and it was frightening, and it was difficult. And then I got to a point when my 4th child was 6 years old that I just felt like I had to do something. And I finally said yes to bariatric surgery, and I did that. That was 10 years ago. And I lost a little over 100 pounds, but I had many complications with it. I didn't lose weight rapidly initially because my new stomach, which they call a stoma, closed 3 times. So they had to put me asleep and put something down my throat and pound it open to, so I wasn't even able to keep water down for several, weeks, and, enough that I wasn't dehydrated completely, but it was a problem. And, that was an answer at the time. But what I know now is that there are other things, and most importantly, a way to reconcile a healthy relationship with food, managing my emotions properly. And I finally found that in a program through Optavia, where I'm learning how to eat 6 times a day. I have coaching, I have support, which is really big for me. Someone once said, my head is a dangerous neighborhood. If I go in by myself, I really need backup. And I need emotional and spiritual backup, because I believe many things about myself, that I'm not good enough, that I can be successful in other areas, but in this area, I have not done well. Historically, that's my story. So I found that that's pretty much my story. And the whole thing with the weight loss surgery, I guess I'm a cautionary tale that if you do that surgery, there are long-term consequences. And there are many people who could tell you what those consequences are. I'm one of them. There's ongoing issues with malabsorption of vitamins, which causes all kinds of problems like hair loss and bone loss, seriously, as well as I still have food get stuck. It takes 1 hour to clear, and that means I'm vomiting for an hour. It's a very unpleasant thing. And that's pretty much my story.
Well, that's a heck of a story, Melanie. Thank you for sharing it. So, and I love that, going into your head neighborhood, you need backup. I love that. That's awesome. I'm totally using that, by the way. So what habits and well-being practices do you do now to daily to be good to yourself?
Right. Well, I really start with my relationships, I guess, as I was thinking of this. And my first relationship was with God. And I know that I am loved. And that's a deep-seated, hard-won belief, because I didn't feel that a lot of my life. I had a lot of self-deprecating thoughts, and I had, not to cast any blame, but I just grew up with a lot of perfectionistic influencers in my life. And that was hard, and I just internalized it. I didn't receive good messages about myself. So my relationship with God is first and foremost. Therefore, I pray. I pray to God. I know who I am based on who the Bible tells me, and I believe it. And that's been a hard one thing too, because we have to overcome what we believe. We do what we believe. And for a long time, I believed that I just wasn't good enough and not enough. So that's first and foremost. So I pray. I also work to have rest within my week by having a Sabbath. My husband's a pastor, so Sunday is not our Sabbath. Our Sabbath is his day off. It's Friday, and it's easy to let that get used up by other things. But more than anything, I think it's an attitude also of not acting out of fear and anxiety, which is something I work to not do, instead of coming from a place of faith and trust. My faith is that, this is going to work out. It's going to be okay. And that's rooted in my relationship with God. And it's also rooted in a healthy relationship with myself. When I feel like I need to deal with something that's coming up emotionally, I journal. My grad degree is in journalism. I'm a writer. And you know what? It's a great tool, and I write, I say, what am I feeling? And then I say, what does God's word say about this? I am a faith-based person. That is who I am. And then there is a dialogue can open up with God and myself, and unlocking what's in my heart. That's very important for me to manage my emotion. And in terms of food and trying to take care of myself properly, getting adequate sleep, eating, smaller meals, healthy meals, avoiding sugar is a big thing for me. Those kind of things, and having times for recreation. I'm a mom of 4 kids. Many are out of the house. We have 2 still home. And, it is challenging always to take care of ourselves, but I do agree with you. I don't think I think it's best when we take care of ourselves. We're more able to take care of others.
Absolutely. So in closing, what advice would you give to others to encourage them to be good to themselves?
You know what? Punishing ourselves doesn't work. Doesn't work. And, discipline is really a good thing to embrace. So having structure is a good thing. The structure of healthy habits. And my mantra is also it's progress, not perfection, because I also tend to be a perfectionist. It's knowing who you are. And I have to tell you, I am better at 55 and today than I was even last year. And it's really, I think, coming from a place of acceptance, being honest. When I have to confess I'm doing something wrong, I do, and letting myself off the hook. And also knowing that I can strive and be more of what I'm called to be and want to be. And letting other people have the same dignity and rights as well. It's a good way to live.
That's awesome. Well, I love that. Absolutely. And I welcome you into my headspace all the time. Right? I need some backup in my neighborhood too. So absolutely. Well, thank you, Melanie, for your words. Thank you for sharing your story. And I look forward to seeing where you are in a year from now. And maybe we'll have to review the life of Melanie and see how she's doing. So thank you very much for doing this.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.